Hello, folks, and it is a glorious day. That's right, the Bitcoin ETF has been approved. Sorry, all you bear people that thought it wasn't going to get approved because, everyone thinks it. So the SEC is going to rug pull us. No, they didn't. I've told you before, these government agencies don't like to do things by surprise. They do telegraph everything out in advance. So it was always excessively likely that they were going to approve the ETF, and they did approve the ETF today. So all of you that said, I know things that you don't know, nope, you were wrong. You didn't know anything that we didn't know. In fact, you unknew things that we knew. I know that doesn't really make sense, but just bear with me here. And yes, we have official statement from the clown himself, Gary Gensler, on the approval of spot Bitcoin exchange traded products. This is probably the most bearish approval I've ever heard, and really sounds like that he got backed into a corner, and he is still not giving up the fight against crypto. But make no mistake, Gary the Clown Gensler has been completely and utterly defeated in the Bitcoin ETF war, and he was basically made to take a knee to the mighty Bitcoin. So January 10th, 2024. Today, the commission approved the listing and trading of a number of spot Bitcoin exchange-traded ETP shares. This is directly from SEC.gov. I have often said that the commission acts with law and how the courts interpret the law beginning under Chair Jay Clayton in 2018 through March 2023. The commission disapproved more than 20 exchange rule filings for spot Bitcoin ETPs. One of these filings, made by Grayscale, contemplated the conversion of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust into an ETP. We are now faced with a new set of filings similar to those we have disproved in the past. Circumstances, however, have changed. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia held that the Commission failed to adequately explain its reasoning in disapproving the listing and trading of the Grayscale proposed ETP. The court therefore vacated the Grayscale order and remanded the matter to the Commission. Based on these circumstances and those discussed more fully in the approval order, I feel the most appropriate sustainable path forward is to approve the listing and trading of those spot Bitcoin ETP shares. When they say ETP in the United States, they mean ETF, because ETFs are really the only ones submitted in the United States, I believe. But either way, he has been defeated. The courts were the last straw, and he had nowhere to go. The Commission evaluates any rule filing by a national securities exchange based upon whether it is consistent with the Exchange Act and regulators thereunder, including whether it is designed to protect investors in the public interest. The Commission is merit neutral, and does not take a view on particular companies, investments, or assets underlying the ETP. But Gary has had a vendetta against crypto himself, much like Elizabeth Warren. If the issuer of a security and the listing exchange comply with the Securities Act, the Exchange Act, and the Commission rules, the issuer must be provided the same access to our regulated markets as anyone else. He is still going with the narrative that most cryptos are securities. Importantly, today's Commission Act is cabined to ETPs holding one non-security commodity, Bitcoin. It should in no way signal the Commission's willingness to approve listing standards for crypto asset securities, which obviously have not been proven in court. The only one that's been called a security is Terra Luna, and that might not even be on the secondary market. Now, I don't really know if Ripple's institutional shares consisting of securities would actually help or hurt their ETF proposal if there ever is one, because right now the only other ETF proposal besides Bitcoin is Ethereum, and that will probably get accepted in May. Nor does the approval signal anything about the Commission's views as to the status of other crypto assets under the federal securities laws or about the current state of non-compliance of certain crypto asset market participants with federal securities laws. As I've said in the past, and without prejudging any one crypto asset, the vast majority of crypto assets are investment contracts and thus subject to federal securities laws. I think he just prejudged almost all crypto assets, and he will be wrong, and he will be proven wrong in court. Investors today can already buy and sell or otherwise gain exposure to Bitcoin at a number of brokerage houses through mutual funds, on national securities exchanges, through peer-to-peer payment apps, on non-compliant crypto trading platforms. They're actually not non-compliant. He just says they're non-compliant because he has to go with his narrative. I think the courts will find that Coinbase is completely compliant. And of course, through Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, today's action will include certain protections for investors. First, sponsors of Bitcoin ETPs will be required to provide full, fair, and truthful disclosure about the products. Investors in any Bitcoin ETP that is listed and traded will benefit from the disclosure included in public registration statements and required periodic filings. While these disclosures are required, it is important to note that today's action does not endorse the disclosed ETP arrangements, such as custody arrangements. So they're basically, the SEC is like, we're not going to endorse them, but we have to approve them because we have no other choice. Second, the products will be listed and traded on registered national securities exchanges, such as regulated exchanges. CBOE says they'll actually open tomorrow for trading on these. Such regulated exchanges are required to have rules designed to prevent fraud and manipulation, even though they still exist, obviously, and we will monitor them closely to ensure that they are enforcing those rules. Furthermore, the Commission will fully investigate any fraud or manipulation in these securities markets, like what they did yesterday themselves. So the first act of the Commission is to actually investigate themselves, including schemes that use social media platforms. Such regulated exchanges also have rules designed to address certain conflicts of interest as well as protect investors and public interest. Now, I don't really know what you can do about people talking about cryptos on social media. I don't think that's actually against the law, as long as you actually disclose. Further, existing rules and standards of conduct will apply to the purchase and sale of approved ETPs. This includes, for example, regulation best interest when crypto broker-dealers recommend ETPs to retail investors, as well as a fiduciary duty under the Investment Advisors Act for investment advisors. Today's action does not approve or endorse crypto trading platforms or intermediaries, which for the most part are non-compliant with federal securities laws and often have conflicts of interest. The Commission staff is separately completing the review of registration statements for 10 spot Bitcoin ETPs simultaneously. So there were 10 ETFs that were approved simultaneously. So, which will help create a level playing field for issuers and promote fairness and competition, benefiting investors in the broader market. Since 2004, this agency has had experience overseeing spot non-security commodity ETPs, such as those holding certain precious metals. That experience will be valuable in our oversight of spot Bitcoin ETP trading. Though we're merit neutral, I note that the underlying assets in the metals ETPs have consumer and industrial uses, while in contrast to Bitcoin is primarily a speculative volatile asset that's also been used for illicit activity, including ransomware, money laundering, sanction evasion, and terrorist financing. So basically, he's still trying to put down Bitcoin. He is basically regurgitating Elizabeth Warren's line. While we approve the listing and trading of certain spot ETP shares today, we did not approve or endorse Bitcoin. They don't really need to endorse or approve Bitcoin because it is not a security. Investors should remain cautious about the myriad risks associated with Bitcoin and products whose value is tied to crypto. So that's his full statement. Why hasn't Bitcoin actually gone up? Well, it's because I think it was a little bit jolted by the fake approval yesterday. And I think that might have been one of the goals of the fake approval, to get like people more scared so they won't take action when the real thing's actually approved. I think Bitcoin's at 46,000 right now, 46,100, slightly a little bit up, but not very much. It's been swinging in between, and I don't expect any major movements until at least tomorrow. Remember, even though they approved the Bitcoin ETFs today, the trading does not actually begin until tomorrow. That's right. Like CBOE, I think will actually start trading them tomorrow. So tomorrow we will see how much the demand there is actually for these Bitcoin ETFs. The $150 billion that they expect to flow in will flow in over 3 years. So it's going to be a long-term process. I think this lays a lot of good groundwork for Bitcoin pumping, but it does not mean that Bitcoin is going to pump immediately or right now. I do see alts going up. Bitcoin dominance has gone down significantly, and I think some of the hype is going to be switched onto Ethereum now because it has the next ETF for approval. And if you look today, Ethereum, Arbitrum, and the L2s are up massively over what they were yesterday. So that could actually be a good investment right now. Like I said, I expect Bitcoin to slowly go up after this announcement. There might be a bit of a green candle tomorrow or later in the trading session today as this news gets absorbed. The SEC did not make this giant press release. It's up to the individual funds to get people to know. As you seen in the statement, Gary Gensler still does not actually endorse BTC or crypto. He still hates crypto. He is still parroting Elizabeth Warren's lines, but I think those lines are getting very old. Obviously, Jamie Dimon still does not like Bitcoin, but I think all that stuff is getting very, very old. Investors don't really care what these guys have to say, and I think they're going to buy Bitcoin regardless of what Gary Gensler or Elizabeth Warren or any of these guys have to say. I think they've lost the war. They're just refusing to capitulate, but they will be forced to capitulate sooner or later. But that was Gary Gensler's own speech. Obviously, Bitcoinist has reported on it. Reuters and CNBC has a point on it. Plus, Van Eck went on to CNBC to say that they'll actually start trading tomorrow. So maybe look for some buys tomorrow. Hopefully, there'll be enough demand to actually squeeze it up. We are pumping a little bit now, and I am very excited for what this will actually bring in the future. Not immediately, but it will be very nice for this bull run. Yes, people can short the ETF, so they can actually use it to manipulate it downward. But I'm not really too afraid of that because I think it'd be kind of suicide to try to short the ETF right now, based on the fact that they're going to open tomorrow and then people could actually buy them and buy them up. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. We finally won. The clown Gensler is defeated, and we will continue to defeat him in every one of these lawsuits. So keep your heads up, and we will definitely destroy Gary Gensler in the legal field. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you, and have a nice day.